What was the substance of your discussion today?
Well, the substance was, how do we make sure everyone can be safe? And my responsibility is to uphold state law, making sure that people can lawfully demonstrate and that they can be safe to do that. And so we talked about the situation at the ICE facility and that it's contained to that one block around the building and that the rest of the city, we're not having issues. Demonstrations have been peaceful and lawful. And trying to say, how do we make sure that people can lawfully demonstrate and that the ICE facility can operate? And that she's meeting with local law enforcement today to have that conversation. And, I think it's really important when you have a situation like this, that as governor, I'm speaking directly to the federal government about what are your goals, what are we trying to achieve, and how do we keep everybody safe? Because that is the goal.
What was the Secretary's response to your message?
Well, I think she has concerns, but what I said was, we need to follow the law here. I asked about reducing the amount of tear gas that the federal agents are using. This building is in a residential area, and we have laws on the books about how tear gas can be used by our local law enforcement, and I asked them to do the same and try to restrict the use because it is getting into the residential area, and that is all on them. They are making those choices, and I wish they would stop doing that.
Was there any discussion about use of the National Guard or potential active military, should it come to that?
We had no conversation about the military deployment. Homeland Security is divorced from that conversation. That is a conversation with the President and the Department of Defense. So we did not talk about that.
Do you think the Secretary will be objective in her observation of what's happening there and report back to the President?
She tells me that she's here on the ground to assess the situation, talk to local law enforcement, and wants to keep the lines of communication open. That's why I wanted to meet with her, to make sure that she hears that from me as well. We need to resolve this in a way that people can lawfully demonstrate in a situation that is currently being handled by local law enforcement.
How would you best characterize the tone of this conversation between the two of you today?
I think it was professional and cordial. I mean, she's a former governor, so she knows what my job is. We're trying to talk to each other as people who have to make decisions and keep people safe, and I thought it was a good conversation.
Where did you leave the meeting as far as what is your message, and do you feel like she took that away from the meeting itself?
One of my main messages was, please listen to Portland Police and Chief Day. They have worked hard to keep the situation calm. We need to de-escalate the situation. And I did mention that I think the idea that troops would be coming to town has really ramped up the energy in the situation, and we need to calm things down so we can move on. The city is safe. People need to be able to demonstrate lawfully, and we just want to figure this thing out.